Good morning, ladies and gentlemen across the country. We are live from the 2018 Founders Cup here in the Turtle Dome. You are looking at the Manitoba Blizzard, the representatives from Alberta, alongside the Saskatchewan SWAT, who are the Saskatchewan representatives here in the 2018 Founders Cup. This is a matchup in Pool A, which will also feature later tonight the Ontario representative, the Allura Mohawks, and the host nation, the Mohawk Medicine Men. My name is Matthew Carrick alongside Pat Gregoire for game number 1 of our 2018 Founders Cup coverage here on the JVI Sports Network. We trust you've found the stream correctly and you've let everybody else know where it is. If you know somebody that's trying to look for it, please let them know so they can tune in as well. This will be the website and the YouTube channel for all of our games throughout the week, taking you all the way through to the gold medal game, which will happen at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on August the 18th, coming up on Saturday. Coming up later today as well, as we said, game number 1 of 4, the Alberta representative, the Calgary Shamrocks, taking on the team from Quebec, the North Shore Kodiaks, coming up at 2 p.m. local time. So if you're in Alberta, that comes at noon. Coquitlam Adirondacks and the First Nations Lacrosse Association representatives, that'll be the Coquitlam Adirondacks and the Seneca War Chiefs at 5 local time. In BC, that'll be 2 o'clock p.m. Our opening ceremonies will be 7:45, which pushes our primetime game back to 8:30 here tonight. And that's your schedule for the first day of action here in Akwesasne. Your officials for today's game: Calvin Roseberry from Saskatchewan, Mark Thompson of Ontario. They'll be on the floor. Your standby official is Joe Catalano of Alberta.
These two teams met each other in the RMLL playoffs, and the Blizzard getting the better of these two teams. Blizzard actually ended up losing their first RMLL Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League Junior B Championship for the first time in 2 years, losing to Calgary, the Shamrocks, who we'll see later on here, a team that surprised a lot of people. But this Blizzard team have 4 players in the top scoring of their division, the East Division in the RMLL. So a lot of talent with this Blizzard team, and they're kind of playing with a chip on their shoulder as they felt they should have been the champions.
Well, and a couple years ago, Patty, they were here in Orangeville in the last time Ontario hosted the Founders. Very impressive showing there. I believe them and Calgary played for the Tier 2 championship. And they kind of thought they should have been in the mix for the bronze medal. That one, I think it was a 1-game overtime they lost in the play-in round, but it'll be interesting here. The one thing about this schedule, only one playoff day as well. So
yes,
when you look at the A division, as we are finally underway here with Saskatchewan in their white jerseys, they represent the home team here. Throughout the tournament, home teams will wear the light jerseys. The away teams will wear dark. We'll have the home team on the right side of our scorebug as well to help you guys out. And Saskatchewan going right to left here. Saskatchewan, another team that was in Orangeville last time we saw them in Ontario, and a little bit in over their heads, but that program has really taken off. Lacrosse in general in Saskatchewan, even nearly the SWAT team making it to the Minto Cup this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's kind of hurt this team in this tournament because they do now have a Junior A club. But overall, for the growth of the game, having a Junior A team and having a team that's competitive is absolutely massive for Saskatchewan lacrosse.
Dawson Garvey starting it up top. Bright orange sneakers on the feet of Brody Uzakapi as his shot goes wide. I expect a big tournament from him. You can't come out wearing those sneakers and kicks like that and have no game. You know that kid's going to be good. Minor possession call here as Manitoba will take over. And they're actually hosting next year's Founders Cup.
Yes.
We were talking about that, really excited. to have a good showing here and then carry that momentum into next year's campaign when the Founders Cup moves back to Alberta. We've played a minute and a half here of our first 20-minute period. A shot in the first save of the game out of the way for Eric Dirksen. He'll be backed up by Zach Ludwig today.
Both those goalies basically shared duties as starter backup roles, so not really number one for the SWAT.
And we're getting a look at the Manitoba number 2 goalie, Cody Johnson, as Manitoba extended offensive pressure here. Understand it's a first of 2 game suspension carrying over from that RMLL. As a quick change here off the bench. Teams got a practice in yesterday. Everybody had about 45 minutes on the floor. And it's an interesting floor configuration with the permanent turf as well as benches on the opposite sides. So something that a lot of teams probably aren't used to, permanent turf, as Cody Johnson gets his first save of the Founders Cup out of the way.
Yeah, I think the opposite sides, the benches being on opposite sides, I rather should say, is going to be a huge factor. First penalty coming up on the game, and the Blizzard are going to go to the power play.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see when the benches, they exit, because the home bench, penalty bench, is right next to their bench, and the away side is on the opposite side,
yes,
but a lot closer to the net as well. So take your pick if that's good or bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, second period, there's a fair share of transition opportunities. Coaching and playing with the West Durham Ironheads, playing in this building quite a few times and coaching with it. And, you know, when you come into this building, a lot of the time you're game planning that transition to get guys back onto the floor. It's because you're just not used to it.
Something we'll watch tonight later, as we said, our final match of the day at 8:30 local time, the Medicine Men and the Elora Mohawks. The only 2 teams, actually I guess Seneca probably has played here, being out of the First Nations Lacrosse Association, but from my knowledge, the only 2 teams that have played here. Quick stick down to the crease, and the shot there, save made by Dirksen off the stick of Troy Gutowski.
Gutowski finished second in scoring. As I mentioned, those top 4 Blizzard scorers all finishing with at least 70 points. So the Blizzards obviously have no problem putting the ball in the net.
Minute 20 left in the penalty here. 16 and a half left to go in our first period, as the Blizzards set up for another attack here on the power play. Blaze Bilecki will now take top spot. Bilecki shoots. That's off a SWAT player's stick. Hits something. Looked like maybe the lower lip of the overhang and bounced back down. The officials allow play to continue as it's one-handed up the far side. I believe that's Aaron Greyeyes, fresh off the World Junior A Cup and World Junior A Challenge. I always forget the name of that one, but a great performance for him, as now the SWAT work in on goal, and Johnson another pad save as the rebound rolls into the corner, this time off the stick of Talon Badaway.
Yeah, Greyeyes was nothing short as an electric factory. I think he had
How did I know that was coming?
So, of course, 6 goals in the first 2 games. I think he finished with 7, 6 of them coming off of crease dive. So not going to be able to crease dive here in this tournament, but nonetheless.
We'll get to that should it arise, but that came up in the team meeting last night as we watch another save there from Dirksen roll into the corner. A lot of work being done here as Caden Ludwig tries to find a way out, and he's going to do it with help. And a man breaking out the bench, heads up as they go for the big hit, and a nice cross check in on the arm by the Blizzard defender coming off the bench to keep Preston Watke at bay. But the crease dive rule, it is a cylinder up to all the way up to infinity is the way that they were told.
Yes.
And you can crease dive as long as your feet don't cross the cylinder and as long as you don't touch the crease or the goaltender or the net on your way in.
Yes.
So a
modified crease dive.
Yeah,
it's not the
NLO
exactly.
crease dive rule, but it is pretty standard for junior tournaments across the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Still waiting our opening goal. These 2 teams kind of look like they're feeling each other out now. Very, like you said, familiar with each other as they go down to the crease, and that's probably one on me as the Blizzard will get the first opener here, as I just said it. So apologies to our fans out in Saskatchewan, but the Blizzard lead 1-0.
And this one starts all with Kelson Borisenko, the leading scorer of this team. He was a leading scorer in the division, and I believe still a top 10 in the entire RMLL. just throws a beautiful dodge here. You see the numbers, 82 points in 14 games. This guy is just such a hard worker. He can play out the back door. He can play offense, and you saw there with a dodge, a beautiful dodge, and just kind of threw that feed. Wasn't the best pass, but it got to his man, and obviously the Blizzard were able to cash in.
82 points through 14 games for Borisenko, and the first goal scorer here at the 2018 Founders Cup. You're watching the action on JVI Sports Network. If you have yet to do so, subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any of the action. We've got a playlist there as well. We're going to drop all the games in there, as well as tweeting them at JVI Video if you're a social media person. One-handed carry into the middle. Now switching hands. Great job done by Matt Weist, I think, as they finally get the shot. And Johnson, don't know that he was ready for it, but still makes the save as it's picked up by the Blizzard.
Yeah, Matt Weist, he's not only the leading scorer, but I was talking to some of the coaching staff before this tournament, and they said he's a very gritty, hard-nosed player, can play out of the both doors. So he's a guy that definitely you're going to want to keep your eyes on throughout this tournament.
So we are looking at the tournament schedule. This is another one that bounces off that overhang lip, and this time they do call it out of play after hitting the turf, and it will go the way of Saskatchewan. But the Ontario representatives, the Medicine Men, as we said, go later tonight. A push on the crease dive. We're going to get a moving pick down below as well. They were told in the meeting last night that was going to be called a little bit quicker than it was there, but I don't disagree with the call necessarily, as it was made by the trail official.
No, that's the right call there.
I think a lot of people are expecting Elora to have a very big tournament when they come in later tonight. And looking at that Pool A, this could be for your second place in the pool between these two teams, as we're going to get a slashing call as that one went off the back boards and up and out of play. It'll be a high stick, actually, as Dylan Lavoie goes off.
Yeah, it looked like a little bit of a late call from the official there. I don't know, maybe a little bit of a sell job, but nonetheless.
Excuse me, it's Conway as we get our first. Well, I thought we had a goalie water break, but Colin Poitras is just taking a chance to get all the gear situated before starting this power play. 1-0 Blizzard as they scored just a couple minutes ago. 12:46 remaining here in the first period. So like we said, the only one playoff day, which will come on Friday. The top two teams in each pool play each other, and the winners of those two games go for gold. The losers play for bronze. Everyone else ends up in the Tier 2 championship bracket. So very important game in terms of the bigger picture of the schedule already. Game number 1 in terms of what we might see come Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, a ton of implications in this one here, and it's kind of tough. I mean, these teams have a long travel day. They come in, don't really have much time to get a good, proper shoot-around in, and, you're playing arguably the biggest and most important game of the tournament right away.
Well, accommodation's a big factor here in this tournament as we get a scrum on the carpet, and Manitoba a little bit too much, so Saskatchewan chance to take more of this penalty down, which has 1:11 left in it. Immediately, the Blizzard double-team the ball on the far side. Manitoba is staying close by. I'm not sure if they're on Canadian or U.S. side. I believe they're in the Cornwall side.
Yep.
And
okay.
Saskatchewan's staying in Ottawa, so they've got about an hour-and-a-half drive to and from on game days. I think everybody else, the Medicine Men obviously are the local team. They're staying where they are. North Shore, the Quebec representative, we've been told they're staying at home and commuting in. It's only about an hour's drive. Everybody else with accommodations, a shot off the left arm there of Dirksen from the high man. Poitras again, they'll get a reset here. And the Manitoba Blizzard will set up again, straight down the pipe, and that's going to find the mesh from Andy Zune, and make it 2-0 here for the Blizzard.
Andy Zune was the leading scorer for this Manitoba Blizzard team last year in the Founders Cup, and just showing his outstanding shot from the outside. And Saskatchewan's got to do a better opportunity, I should say, to get out on those hands when you have shooters like Zun, Poitras, and of course, we've already talked about Borisenko as well.
Nearing the halfway mark of our first period here, 11:07 left. Reminder, the first of 4 games coming up today, scheduled for a 2 o'clock local start time, as the face-off cleanly won in a bit of a bump before going through the crease. There was Talon Badaway. Badaway with the lime green stick and the great lettuce to go with it. Another guy, you got to expect the big tournament come showing up like that, but there it is. Blizzard player sneaks in behind everybody and decides to go over the shoulder. I believe that might have been William Lutz. Either him or Akwesasne down on the crease again. Twice in the last probably 25 seconds, the Blizzard on the crease. How about a third time now? Still nothing to show for it as Poitras' shot gets partially blocked by Saskatchewan, who are just hanging on this possession, and they're going to get a fresh 30. As a Saskatchewan player was taken down, and they'll call a goalie water break here.
Cole Akwesasne actually, after that play, getting the chance in front of the net, beautiful behind the back, looked like he started to limp holding his hamstring. So hopefully for this Blizzard team, it's nothing too serious, because like we mentioned, with a short tournament, you need all the guys that you can get. Not all the teams travel with a big roster with multiple healthy scratches. Well,
we do have a number of extras on our roster sheet that we were given in the building today. Compared to those who are on the bench, we've actually got 2 additions on Manitoba's side, so I imagine there's a few that aren't here. But on Saskatchewan, what you see is what you get for the tournament. So if anything bad happens over there, heaven forbid, on the green side of things, that could be disastrous. As the last time we saw Saskatchewan, they lost about 3 or 4 players in the tournament in Orangeville to some pretty devastating injuries as well. Like they weren't little things the last time we saw this team out here in the province, but we definitely hope that nothing like that happens, obviously, but it would hurt Saskatchewan for sure, as no scratches here today. Poitras was the guy that was taken down, going for that loose ball again on the crease. And my goodness, sticks are in the right spot, but the bodies are not here for Saskatchewan as the Blizzard continue to pepper Eric Dirksen. As they go back to Poitras again, his shot saved by Dirksen. Bounces straight back to Troy Gutowski. Now we're going to get another penalty, a hold, I believe, just as the first one expires. So 9:50 left. And the Blizzard leading 2-0 will go back to the power play.
Yeah, right now it just seems like the Blizzard just too fast and furious on the offensive side of the ball. The defenders for the SWAT team just having a real hard time keeping up. We've seen a few penalties now where you have a hold or a high stick, and that's just based upon poor positioning. And not lack for trying, but just the fact that this Blizzard team has so many options on offense.
Well, I am a strong believer in the term bus legs, and one thing here in this tournament, the warm-up schedule's changed as well. With the morning game, you can show up whenever you want and the floor is empty, but as we go along, it's going to quickly become a big hit there, and the arm is high from the official. That may have run up a little bit on Grayson Kwan. Down the floor, Johnson out of position, and that penalty will be taken off the board by the first goal of the tournament by Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and that's a huge goal there for Saskatchewan. You draw the penalty, take it down the floor. And I mean, it's the first time we've really seen a chance for Saskatchewan in quite some time. And anytime you get transition opportunity, if you can bury, it's a huge boost for your offense.
Didn't quite see who scored that. It looked like Kwan was leading the rush.
I believe it was Brody Uzakapi who finished off that, but it all did start with Kwan, who took the high stick, made the beautiful feed in front.
Uzakapi, one of Trying to count a number of players, actually. Additions to the Saskatchewan roster, not normally with the SWAT. Uzakapi coming out of the Regina Barracudas program.
A few of them actually from the OJBLL as well. I think a few from Welland and Point Edwards, which is in Windsor. So
we've got 3 Welland Generals and 2 Pacers on our roster sheet. Couple Regina Barracudas, as well as Caden Ludwig is one of those, as Dirksen makes another save. Manitoba rather, still on the power play for another minute here, as they continue to keep Poitras up top. And another one that drops at the feet of Uzakapi. And he'll come out through center. Poitras trying to throw the big hit. 10-second count was on. They got to about 8 before it came back over center, as Jack Dunn will come close to the over and back line, but chance now to kill off a lot of this penalty, probably all of it, as the shot clock is not running. In Ontario Junior B, they did run it this year, so I guess that's a change for the tournament.
Yeah, me personally, I'm a fan of running the shot clock. I think it promotes more offense, more scoring opportunities, and you know, you really can take away the scoring chances on the power play if you have a good rag team. So to promote a faster, quicker game, I think it's the right call.
I don't mind it, as we see another shot here from the Blizzard. Cam Stuckey that time. Immediately picked up by Gutowski as they go back to Stuckey. Oh, what a save there by Dirksen, as another man on the crease for the Blizzard, and now swarmed over the loose ball. We're getting interference against Akwesasne.
I mean, Dirksen has been unbelievable so far in this first.
He's a bigger, upper-bodied goaltender, just based on looking at him, and he moves very well.
I understand the Blizzard are settling for these outside shots because a few of them have sunk, but they really need to try to go east-west, because he is having a hard time going pipe to pipe. On the outside shots, he's making them, in tight he's making them, but he is struggling to get from side to side, and I'd like to see them maybe give that more of a chance.
That long shot comes because there was 2 in the shot clock. We are back to 5-on-5 with under 7 minutes left to play in our first period. 2-1 for the Blizzard, as this one's just been kind of a feeling out process. First one, again, of the tournament for both teams and for us as well here at JVI Sports Network. As it's played across into the stick of Braden Quinn. Sure to stick with us at intermission. We'll grab an interview from Manitoba. I believe we'll talk to the opening goal scorer, Kelson Borisenko. So fans in Manitoba, get ready to hear from your boy. Maybe he'll give a shout out back home.
Borisenko also playing NCAA Division I for Manhattan.
Not very often you see Junior B players playing D1 ball south of the border. So that alone should tell you the skill that he's got in that stick.
And he's an interesting case as well, too. If you're from Ontario and recognize that name, he also went to the Hill Academy. So that also really opened up eyes for some Division I looks. He's a great athlete. You know, in the field game, he's actually a defender. I believe plays long stick, midi, and some closed D as well.
5 on the shot clock here for the SWAT as they walk out the corner. Bit of a contact there on Johnson in the crease. Nothing too egregious, though, as that was Dawson Garvey trying to get an opportunity in tight, as the shot clock does expire here on the Blizzard players. On the SWAT, rather.
Wozny's back out there, so that injury obviously wasn't anything to be too concerned with.
Another loose ball pickup. Fundamentally, defensively, Saskatchewan, a lot of guys near the crease, a lot of opportunities, but it doesn't seem to be hurting them all. This is really weird to be watching and trying to break down, as they grab another really clean loose ball as well.
A little bit of a bend, don't break defense. You know, you'll give up those shots that you know your goalie will get, and just worry about picking up those rebounds.
Fast break here as Poitras lets one rip. Another one that's saved by Dirksen. And really quick play there from Manitoba as the floor starts to spread. And a couple of Manitoba players caught Not sure where they were going, coming or staying on the bench there as now Saskatchewan sets up again.
I think Saskatchewan has to take advantage and try to push that in transition. Offense really not producing anything on the 5-on-5 settled, so take your chance.
It's really odd to do that. I know some players, you expect the transition game to pick up in that second period when they're going to be closer. So that's not first thing on your mind here in the first and when we switch and go back to the third. But
and like we mentioned, with the the opposite benches, it is a little weird. You don't, the last thing you want to do is cause a turnover.
A pick that takes out 2 Saskatchewan defenders, opening up space for, I believe it was Gutowski, but again, Dirksen, last line of defense, keeps it a 2-1 game with 4 minutes left.
As I was saying, the last thing you want to do is cause a turnover, push it up in transition, and then you run right into traffic on the other side of the bench, and that's what it looks like. Saskatchewan's really worried about getting it away from traffic and just kind of slowing things down and let their offense take it. They've got some speedsters out the back end. Push the ball, see what you can do.
They stymied a Blizzard transition chance that last time down the floor. Shot that goes through the crease of Dirksen. And a push in the crease now, and that will cause the crease violation as Gray Eyes a bit of an apology. That is Gray Eyes out on defense.
Yeah, it looked like Gray Eyes has been playing a little bit of both on both sides, coming back in reverse transition.
Shot there, and the save made by Johnson. Seeing a lot of players showing signs of fatigue already on the bench. We got player for the Blizzard stripping all his gear off, actually. That might be an equipment problem, but I saw him with the jersey off, really looking tired. I've seen a few guys take a walk off the bench on that Saskatchewan side too. As the bouncer goes wide, we've been told this is going to be a very hot arena all week long.
Oh, yes.
Although it's already hot and there's only, a handful of people here, about 80 or so. In a building that seats 1,600, looks worse. A crease violation there as Colby Johnson was down and way out. But Saskatchewan unable to get that equalizer, at least for that opportunity.
That would have been Mitchell Jeffrey, one of the Welland Generals as well, getting his first goal for the SWAT out here.
Cam Stuckey keeping it up top, but it's going to be picked off. And here comes Kane Nolting. Nobody around him as Johnson now takes that breakaway chance away. Again, the backup goaltender seeing time here in the Founders Cup. And he keeps it a 2-1 game.
Yeah, that's an absolute massive save from Johnson, keeping this one at a 2-1 lead for his team.
Pass looking to the left side now. High and out of the reach of Gutowski. Back onto the crease. Another shot made by Wasney, but yet another save made by Dirksen, who by far has been the player of the game from either side here in this one.
Yeah, he's been sharp. You mentioned big up top. Doesn't have the most mobile side-to-side movement, but he does do a good job when he is needed. Handball there.
Yeah. That one, not sure who the pass was to as it kind of floated in towards the end. Sure to stick with us at intermission, as we said, especially if you're a fan of Manitoba. The NLL's Tom Borelli Award winner, Steven Stamp, will chat with Kelson Borisenko. Last minute coming up here in our first period, which has been a bit of a slow one and a bit sloppy at times, as we see here. Manitoba trying to chase this one down. Shot that goes wide, just trying to beat the shot clock. They say they did, but there's another whistle as well as Dirksen gobbles it up. Poitras with it as it's played back for Kalen Ludwig.
This is the thing with these short tournaments. If you get a hot goalie and keep you into these games, it's absolutely massive. We've seen so many times before, whether it be the Founders or the Minto or even the Man. It's when you have Timeout.
Manitoba calling their
Call.
first of 2 allowable timeouts in the game. You get 1 per period if you're new, and 2 for the game. And overtime, you do not get an extra one. That came up yesterday as well as they discussed the overtime procedures, which is interesting because they're going with a full 10 and then golden goal 10s after, or golden goal 20s after that.
Yes.
But it's golden goal straight from the start when we get to the medal rounds.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. So
interesting.
That was a bit of a different curveball that was thrown last night, but none of the teams seemed to object. So that will definitely make it worth sticking around for our coverage once we get into Friday and Saturday. But coming up later this afternoon, if you're watching in Alberta, Calgary, that'll be right around lunchtime out there in the Mountain Time Zone, 2 p.m. here local. The North Shore Kodiaks taking on the Calgary Shamrocks. That's our next game coming up here from the Founders Cup, 2 p.m. local time. Coquitlam-Adonax Seneca War Chiefs at 5 o'clock local, that would be 2 o'clock out on the West Coast if you're looking for the Coquitlam game, the Medicine Men versus Ontario. All of them here on the JVI Sports Network YouTube channel, so be sure you're subscribed. Find the playlist as well, as that's where every game is going to be all week long. 15 seconds to work here with Johnson on the bench for the Blizzard. They lead by 1. As now we get another team arriving for that second game. A quick shot, Dirksen reaching for it, down, and you can't corral it to get the shot. The Blizzard still time as it's bombed down the floor. The bounce hangs a right and just over top of the net. Saskatchewan was looking to tie it up right at the horn. My goodness.
That would have been a little bit of a boost heading into the room, but nonetheless, you're down 2-1. I mean, I think it's safe to say the Blizzard controlled the majority of it. And you know what? If it wasn't for the goaltender in between the pipes, Dirksen, I mean, this thing could be completely wide open. But I mentioned goaltending so key in these short tournaments.
Kelson Borisenko standing by with Steven Stamp. And let's hear from him now.
All right, I'm down on the floor with Kelson Borisenko. Well, welcome back to the Founders Cup, and this is a team that you've had battles with over the years. Last year you beat them by 16-15 at the Founders, but they've got some new blood in this team, some guys from Welland.
Yeah, they brought in a couple guys for Founders, but I think we still know what they are, right? They still got the same coaches when we go on the floor. We know what they expect. They're going to do things offensively. They're going to do things offensively. It doesn't really matter who they have out there. We're going to stick to our schemes, and at the end of the day, we're just going to worry about ourselves.
You've come in the last couple of years into the Founders as RMLL champions. Didn't quite work out that way for this year. Does that change your motivation, give you even more to try and win this tournament or get a medal?
Yeah, I think for this team, this is a special group, especially for Manitoba and especially for us. Losing last weekend in the RMLL, I think it just adds a fire in our belly. I think coming into the past 2 years and being RMLL champions, that just adds more to us going into this weekend. And I think we expect big things of ourselves, and we know what we have to do.
You've got some veterans yourself, and Colin Poitras and Andy Zahn, and a bunch of guys who have been here, who have been growing up together, and like you said, really building the game of lacrosse in Manitoba. Do you feel pressure or just excitement to try and take another step?
Yeah, just excitement. I think for us, with Andy and Colin both going at the same college, I think that just goes to show how close this group is. Played on a lot of teams in my life, but I can honestly say I've never played on a team closer to this. On Friday nights, Saturday nights, it's us hanging out, right? We're doing things together, and I think for us this weekend, it's no different. We're hanging out in the hotel rooms on the floor. We just come here to have fun. I think for us, we play our best and we have fun. And yeah, I think that's what we're trying to do out here this weekend.
Perfect. Thank you, and good luck as the game goes on. Good to see you again. All right, back up to Matthew Carrick and Pat Gregoire.
Thank you very much, Stephen, and thank you for Kelson Borisenko and the coaching staff of Manitoba for allowing us to do that. Any thoughts before we send it to break, Patty? That was an interesting first period, a bit of lower pace. Think it'll pick up here in the second?
I think it definitely will. Like you mentioned already, it's a feeling out process in the first period. The second, I think we're going to see more chances, especially in transition. You mentioned it. Now with the opposite side of the benches, now it's even more hectic with that change. So I think the team that's able to adjust to that wrong side of the floor bench or opposite side of the floor bench and can capitalize in transition, I think that's going to be key going ahead.
Well, we'll find out. 9.5 left on the clock here as we send it to break as the Manitoba Blizzard lead 2-1 after the first period. You're watching the 2018 Founders Cup on the JVI Sports Network. teams are making their way back onto the floor as we get set for period number 2 of our first game of the 2018 Founders Cup between the Saskatchewan SWAT and the Manitoba Blizzard. We showed you Borisenko in that first period. We keyed on him. This period we're going to key on Aaron Greyeyes, who played in the World Junior Tournament for Team Iroquois, but a great RMLL season as well.
Yeah, and if you live under a rock, that's the only way you probably didn't see one of his crazy goals from that tournament with Team Iroquois. Gorgeous diving BTB goal, stole the show. I believe it was in the first game. You see his stats there. 11 games played this year with the SWAT, 12 points, where in that tournament alone, in 3 games, he had 11 points. Whatever it was fitting in perfectly. I mentioned already earlier in the broadcast, 6 of his total 7 goals came on crease dives. He's such an electric player to watch, so much fun, and you even mentioned it too, Matt. We've seen him play some defense, so a well-rounded lacrosse player. Yeah,
there was a lot of talk about him, especially from, I know you and Steven, who were watching that tournament, both kind of, you said that you can't wait to watch this guy up close, and I looked out and he was on defense. It kind of threw me off.
Mm-hmm.
As here's the face-off clamp rule. They want the players this tournament to get that ball out and draw it and get the pace going. And the early clamp, the players disagree, but that was another one that was discussed. As a wide shot, here comes the Manitoba Blizzard now. Again, if you missed it off the top, wearing their navy blue jerseys. Working right to left here in this second of 3 20-minute periods. Bouncer off the end boards, hits off the back. It looked like of Dawson Garvey and rolls into the corner.
You heard during the interview with Steven Stamp, with Kelson Borisenko talking about a few of the guys, and Poitras and Zun, both of them go to Carthage College, a Division III school. So he mentioned how all those guys, have grown up playing together, and those two eventually went on to college together. So it just shows the growth of the game in that province of Manitoba. 2 guys playing at a D3 school, and then of course Borisenko playing D1 at Manhattan. Very impressive.
D1, D3. Not uncommon anymore for Canadian players to go after that scholarship, and there's a lot of programs, like you said, mentioned before, Hill Academy and others, that groom players for that, as Dirksen makes another save. That time off the stick of Poitras. A better one just before that is, here comes the SWAT in transition, the behind the back bouncer from Greyeyes. There it is, the exciting play we spoke of, why he's our player to watch here in the second period.
Didn't take him long to get flashy here in this second period, and see the coaching staff kind of just chuckling and tapping on the head. Normally, coach would be like, all right, come on, go for a normal shot, but it seems like he's most effective when it goes BTB.
We've had a couple people that waved off.
Wow.
Looked like it was in, but the official right there waves it off. I wonder what that hit. But it remains a 2-1 game as now Saskatchewan goes behind the back again. On the carpet for Kieran Mulvaney.
2 very strong chances for Saskatchewan off this change in the second. I anticipate they're going to really try to use this to their advantage. We'll see if Dirksen, his first pass wasn't great out of the crease. If he can get his stick going, he can be a real factor, getting those outlet passes off the bench.
Well, and looking at him too, he's got that kind of Christian Del Bianco long extension on the end of the goalie stick, which has no restrictions on it in summer ball. So the big canoe paddle, if you will, that they get to play with, and some of them will switch back to a soup spoon for Field or Winter. Johnson, what a job there to go with every fake thrown at him by the Saskatchewan forward. Bryce Duick, who I think will be our second intermission interview with Steven Stamp, if I'm not mistaken. As the shot through a defender. So Johnson with the big number of saves as Manitoba comes back the other way. And Andy Zunn has his second of the game.
Zunn again with a big outside shot. The first one we saw, beautiful chance. This one goes off the arm of the Saskatchewan goalie, Eric Dirksen. And, I mean, when Dirksen's been playing the way he can, you'll allow him to,
It might have hit Conway in front as well. Nick Conway was high on defense, and I thought I heard the extra tick, but yeah.
That would explain things then. If that's the case, then definitely not his fault. Take that back.
That's more like the face-off they're trying to get in this tournament. The quick one that bounces right back out. And it goes into the stick of the Blizzard. That's what you wanted in that first period, a little more of. Patty, the east-west play, they do it there, but Dirksen nicely to come to his left and make the save. Now off the bench. Talon Badaway into the corner. Lefties cycling. Last one takes the floor now. Late in the shot clock, though, as there's 12 left. As Badaway gets it back. Another hard shot. Gets the reset for Ethan Kennedy. And Saskatchewan still has it. Badaway, another one that goes wide. Shot clock continues to tick down as Garvey wheels away. Far side, Garvey down to the crease. Tries to get it to him was Kennedy. But that one off the stick of Taylor Ritchie, and now Ritchie will circle the crease. Taylor and Evan Ritchie both in the lineup for the Blizzard here this afternoon. Twins, if I'm not mistaken? No.
That I don't know. We'll have to ask.
I'm sure someone will let us know in the YouTube chat room. Our resident expert, Steven Stamp, has closed his laptop and walked away. So I guess that minute 30 seconds of work he did was too much for him. He's got a long day ahead of him. You and him are in for games 2 and 3. Coming up later, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock. That's the schedule throughout the tournament. Only changes today, the 8:30 p.m. game here local time between the Medicine Men and the Allura Mohawks, who we were corrected in the intermission, have not actually been here in over 10 years.
Good omen for them, though. The last time they were in this building, they went on to win a Founders Cup back in 2005. Beat the Akwesasne Indians in the Ontario final and went on to beat Edmonton, the Warriors, in the Founders final.
Are they the only previous winners in this tournament? I'm throwing a lot of this at you on the fly. I apologize. I see
yes,
you work,
I believe they are.
I see you working the keys here, but going through my notes and what I've got in my head, I'm pretty sure.
They are. No, they definitely are.
Shot into the logo. It rolls down the shaft of the stick of Johnson. He thought he had it picked up as Mitchell Jeffrey was right there, waiting for the garbage to pop out. It never did. 3-1 is your score. 13:44. Still waiting for the pace to pick up here in our opening match of the tournament as a bouncer goes through the crease, and not sure who the shot was, but they're very frustrated with themselves as it rolls all the way back down. Leading the charge is Gutowski. Puts it in the corner. High spin check there.
That might be a couple of penalties there. A high stick and a slash.
Yeah, I think we're getting a slash to the back of the neck, it looked like, from Colin Poitras as he goes down. And the player second guilty party, I believe, is Yuza Kapi, the only goal scorer for Saskatchewan, went over and apologized. The initial penalty they call a hook. The second they call a high stick. So a great opportunity now for the Blizzard to break this one open. We've been waiting for a spark from either team since the get-go, and now a 2-minute 5-on-3 here for the Manitoba Blizzard.
Yeah, it's just so much firepower up on this offense for the Blizzard. I mean, you have Poitras there, unload a shot, Zunn as well, and then you have your quarterback. as well.
Well, you said they came here with a chip on their shoulder because of a couple years ago, because of the RMLL finals, because of next year hosting. There's a lot on the line for this Manitoba team. Oh, my goodness. The ball movement right there was a thing of beauty between the top four on the power play. Zun, Poitras, trying to catch numbers as they walk off here.
Gutowski as well, I think, was the one who cashed in on there. But we talked about it coming in here. Those four top scorers, all with 70-plus points. And Borisenko with 82 with the most. I mean, that's just that there. You can't take a double minor against this team. You know, going up 5-on-3, there's just too much time and space. And even before that, Andy Zun took a shot that, you know, he could have made a sandwich before he let that go. Just way too much time and space for these sharpshooters on Manitoba.
The only player that wasn't involved in that goal was Blaise Bilecki, who remains. And an over and back call against Saskatchewan, but also a slash against the Blizzard with 1:28 left in the Saskatchewan penalty. So we'll go 4-on-4 here now with a lot of room to work. And heading off, Matt Wist. He was the player that took the slash, looks like right on the calf or the hamstring, as he slowly makes his way to the bench. And as we said, no subs in the tournament for this Saskatchewan team. So we'll keep an eye over on what is the home bench here for Saskatchewan in their first game, which doesn't really mean much. Means a lot more in some other sports, as this bouncer goes up into that overhang and comes straight back down. That is a change of possession.
I think this 4-on-4 situation certainly plays to the favor of the Blizzard when you have all the sharpshooters and quick players, as you see Borisenko with a chance there. Just hit that one off the pipe. Just too much time and space for these guys. And they're going to get another 30-second chance here. It just seems like Zun with that outside shot and Borisenko so good with the backdoor cut. It's almost an automatic scoring chance for these guys.
Working all the way in, taking a little off right at the end. I believe that's Borisenko again. Just trying to lift it into the net.
Yeah, Borisenko could easily have 3, and maybe he'll have another one here.
And he does. Now scoring 4-on-4. Believe it's 4-1. They've got 5-1 up on the board. But we'll sort it out. We're getting sorted out in the chat room as well, as we're now told by Sean Murray, 05 was defeating Oakville in the finals.
Okay.
So it's game 1.
It is game 1.
And we appreciate the pronunciations as well, as we're seeing some of these players for the first time. Mitchell pardon me, now I've got to check. Jeff Roy. Mitchell Jeff Roy will get that one as well as the tournament progresses. Lucky for you at home, you don't have to hear much of me this week.
That's
Steven Stamp, Pat Gregoire will take you most of the way. One of the co-hosts of NLL Relax, and of course the newly crowned 2-time winner of the Tom Borelli Media Award for the NLL, Steven Stamp. As our coverage of the Founders Cup progresses here. From Akwesasne, Cody Johnson asks for water. And water breaks will be taken a lot here, but the teams were informed that they're trying to keep it away from penalties and goals so it doesn't count more as a timeout. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're seeing them in a few, I would say, awkward spots. We saw one in the first period that just sort of happened, and then this one here kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, you don't want to give an advantage to the team that's already on the man advantage. But at the same time, I mean, these goalies, both of them, have earned quite a few water breaks the way that they have been playing. This arena right now, yeah, it is getting a little spicy, but later on in the week, it's going to just get hotter and hotter. Right now, it's not too bad. Mind you, we are in the media booth with a big fan blowing right beside us, so
we got a bunch of them on the table. We got one down beside us, and they've carted in a few extra industrial ones to put around the arena, but we have been told it's going to get pretty uncomfortable in here, I guess is the way to put that.
Yeah, and you know what? With that being said, though, what a fantastic arena. This is honestly one of my favorite arenas in all of lacrosse. Not too many great memories for my playing or coaching days in here with the Indians getting the better of the Ironheads, but nonetheless, some great battles, and anytime you get to play in here, it's an honor.
We're back to 5-on-5. Our first look at the kind of weird penalty box arrangement on the far side, as there's a player going airborne. I believe that's Akwesasne in front of Dirksen, who's now trying to get the ball out of his gear, but Garrett DePapi sprinting, full sprint all the way across the floor, as the last couple of Saskatchewan players that have taken penalties just kind of saunter out into the change box, which is right next. So we did talk about the home bench not being a great advantage. Yeah. That's definitely where it comes into play here in this building.
Oh, certainly is. That's just a smart lacrosse player taking advantage of that.
Dryden Quinn into the corner now as the SWAT try and get one. Johnson with another save as Jack Dunn was taken down, and the official's arm goes high, and we get another SWAT player hobbling off, as it looks like it is Quinn as we get the penalty coming up here to Manitoba.
Illegal cross check. Going to be the call for DePapi. We'll sit down for 2 minutes. So a huge opportunity here. I mean, it's not time to hit the panic button. We are halfway through this game here, game number 1 for the Founders Cup. They're down a few goals here, but the way that this offense just hasn't clicked, no better way to get that boost than on the power play.
Halfway through regulation time now, the Blizzard in danger of pulling away right now. Still not a ton of pace in this game. They still have 5-1 up on the scoreboard. We believe up here it's 4-1, but either way, a chance now for Saskatchewan is a nice play there. Cutting through the middle, Dawson Garvey drew both defenders, but then the pass rolled Aaron in the corner. Shot comes through, and a number of players, including Preston Watke, ducking for cover, but it does skip past the cage of Johnson. And now the Blizzard with a chance to take 30 off the clock. Or more, actually. I keep forgetting that that's not going to run here in the tournament.
I mean, with the dynamic players that the Blizzard have, I'm sure they're, that's very uncharacteristic turnover there from Borisenko.
Over and back, waved off, as they said it went off a Saskatchewan player's stick. Either that or they were closest to it, but I thought that should have been called anyways. But nevertheless, moot point as Saskatchewan recovers the possession, and it goes to Mitchell Jeffroy. Pick set in front of Badaway. His shot off the end boards. Another one, Johnson recovers, makes the save, but can't do it. Another time is Matt Wist. A wide open cage as the SWAT get one more here.
As I mentioned, Matt Wist, one of the leading scorers, the leading scorer for this SWAT team. And you could probably guarantee one of the easier goals he scored with a yawning cage. And I mean, you can't blame the goaltender, Cody Johnson, there. How many saves were you expecting him to make there? I mean, if he crawled over and made that third one there. I mean, Saskatchewan, that would have been absolutely deflating for them. But good on Saskatchewan to continue to fight for those rebounds, get the loose ball, and cash in on the open cage.
So we go back to the dot, and the Saskatchewan drawman and recent goal scorer, Wist, moves early. So Manitoba will take possession here. Just a heads up as we go to tomorrow. That shot may have hit the crossbar before going up and out of play. Saskatchewan SWAT will face the hosts, the Medicine Men, at 5 o'clock local time. 3 o'clock out in Saskatchewan. And Manitoba draws the Allura Mohawks in the 2 p.m. game tomorrow, August 15th. Those links are available already on the channel as we get a bit of a hard interference call over on the far side and a bit of a conversation afterwards as Borisenko gets it back. So Saskatchewan at 5 local tomorrow, Manitoba at 2 as the Blizzard get one back.
And this time, once again, Troy Gutkowski and Borisenko meet up down on the crease. And it just starts once again with a nice little dodge from Borisenko. He draws his man, and it's a beautiful backdoor cut from Gutkowski and catches on the crease and fires that in.
So we're still trying to sort out the scoreboard now. We apologize that we have been incorrect. It is indeed 6-2. We understand the online scoring is not working in the building either, but
Gutkowski,
that is being worked on.
Gutkowski, Zun, and Borisenko, all with 2 goals apiece.
That makes 6.
I'm not a big math guy, but I'm pretty sure I can confirm that.
And 6-2 as Saskatchewan looked like they were trying to take off, but the legs just wouldn't go there for Uzakapi. But they get one back, though, as Johnson wasn't ready for the quick attack, and Saskatchewan cuts the lead in half.
That's a huge goal. I know 7 minutes still left in this second period, but you mentioned the Blizzard, the way they've been playing and pushing here. You know, they're almost in that territory where they can start pulling away, but you got to give credit to Saskatchewan. They just keep punching back, keep answering, and keeping it close because you know their goaltender is going to be able to keep the game close. It's not like he's going to fall off here. He's proven to, so far in the first almost 40 minutes, that he could be one of the top goalies we see in this tournament.
Saskatchewan bench doing some cheerleading now as Wist goes after another faceoff. Another big hit right in front of the bench official right there and gives the ball to the SWAT. Looked like the Blizzard player was the guy that got pancaked over on the far side, but opportunity now is cutting the corner. Badaway comes in, takes the shot into the feet of Johnson, who makes the save.
Seen Badaway pull that move off a couple of times, a little spin around and take it to the net and throw an underhand. Like to see him maybe change planes, go high to low, low to high.
Borisenko from the corner to the far side of the crease. Blizzard starting to find their legs here in the second period. And they're making it look pretty right now, as the last couple have been of the highlight variety.
And once again, sounding like a broken record, Borisenko with a beauty feed that comes off a great dodge, showing his athleticism and his high IQ. This time, instead of Gutkowski on the crease, he finds Cam Stuckey, who makes no mistake and tickles twine.
Kieran Mulvaney directing traffic as him and I believe that's Wist still out there again. Go head to head, and it is pulled out by Mulvaney. But the pass can't get over the outstretched stick of Dawson Garvey. So he runs it in for Saskatchewan, and they'll get their offensive unit on the floor. See if they can't trade goals, continue to trade goals as they've done here in the second. Wist held up just enough to not get that interference call, but William Lutz, nice recovery. Too many men against the Blizzard as one was late getting to the bench. Now Curtis Pfeiffer believe the first time we've called that name today. Trying to go around the corner. Off the glass for Bataway. He's got Pfeiffer beside him. Likes to go to the far side. The righties, it bounces through the crease. And this will be Pfeiffer, no shot. They have a trailer though. And Jack Dunn trying to sneak back door. Bounced off a body. It is recovered by the SWAT. And they get Johnson moving again. A nice save. Wide open, juicy rebound though. But a nice tie-up job done by Lutz to make sure that Ethan Kennedy couldn't pick it up for Saskatchewan.
You maybe like to see Jeff Roy, instead of just shooting that down low, fake down low, put it up top, because, I mean, a beautiful chance to get that shot off, but it just looked like he just threw it down to the leg pads of Johnson.
Blizzard into the corner now. Shot clock violation with 4:42 left to go. And a 4-goal lead for the Manitoba Blizzard. Again, this coming in Pool A, which also includes the Medicine Men and the Allura Mohawks. So this very well could be the match that decides second place and the either top tier or bottom tier when we go into the playoffs for Friday, Saturday, as we start looking that far ahead on the schedule. I think the other big game, if you look at Group B, is the one that's going to come Thursday at 2 o'clock when the Calgary Shamrocks will play the Coquitlam Adenauts, the other kind of second place matchup. But kind of going down the list, Patty, this can be one of the most evenly matched top to bottom Founders Cups. A bounce shot just past the outstretched left arm of Johnson by Ethan Kennedy. That is a beautiful shot to make it 7-4.
Yeah, great job by Kennedy to recognize his defender, giving him too much time and space. You see him pump. Almost seems like he's like, all right, you're not going to come out to me? Boom, I'll take this shot. And a beautiful place bounce shot. Goes right by the leg of Johnson. And once again, we see this SWAT team not giving up and answering back every time the Blizzard throws something at them. They're there replying.
Keeping it just close enough right now is Saskatchewan. Manitoba's winning the highlight reel battle right now, but like you said, just unable to get enough momentum to pull away, and we've seen that throughout the game. When you get kind of lulled into this really slow pace, it's hard to get it back moving. As now Johnson comes out, throws a big pick, and gets a bit tangled up in his mesh. And we get a penalty coming here. Johnson rumbling his way over to the Manitoba bench. He'll, again, with the decrease almost in goalie water breaks, he'll take a chance to take a couple swigs here. Off the back of the goalie, did that go in? No, they call the crease. Reminder, it's the cylinder rule where your feet go in, and he kind of hopped forward as opposed to jumped on an angle. And we'll get the penalty call here.
I think it may have went off the back of the net anyways. It looked like the official picked it up off the back of the net. Nonetheless, a glorious chance and a right idea. Why not?
North Shore Kodiaks and the Calgary Shamrocks in the building now as they, again, take to the floor in our second game of the tournament and the day. 2 o'clock local time. 2 o'clock in Quebec as well, obviously, and I believe that's right at noon hour in Alberta. So a couple players have had time to make a sandwich today. Do the same thing if you're out in the Mountain Time Zone, and should have joined us here. This is the Founders Cup. We take you all the way to the gold medal game Saturday, August the 18th at 5 p.m. local time. 3 minutes away from our second break of the game, as the Blizzard, another power play. And a lot of ball movement here as now the lefties get involved. Only one man did not touch it that time, and that was Troy Gutowski in the corner on the crease.
It's one of those power plays where, yeah, it's good ball movement. Everyone gets a touch, but really no one was that dangerous. They got to get back to, having some off-ball movement, throwing those seals at the top, really gets Saskatchewan's defenders, uncomfortable on that kill.
Saskatchewan forward beating 3 defenders for the Blizzard. Can't beat the right arm, though, of Johnson. It's a nice job done by Kane Nolting. A couple players calling names for the first time here in the dying minutes of the second period. And with a not shorter bench, but shorter roster for Saskatchewan, maybe just cycling guys in and out a bit as opposed to moving the bench and cycling the lines. It's, okay, play maybe half a game or more of this period, more of that one, to keep guys as fresh as they can. We saw, I believe it was Manitoba, their first grocery stop of the tournament, posted on their social media account. So we know they're well fed and hydrated.
Nice double team there by the Blizzard.
And Saskatchewan quickly over to that bench as we thought this was going to be a transition specialty period, as a sidearm shot there from Anthony Zunn gets past the knee of Dirksen.
That's Zunn's hat trick, the first hat trick we've seen here at the 2018 Founders Cup Championship. Zunn, as we mentioned, one of those homegrown local Winnipeg players. Borisenko, Gutowski, Zunn, and Poitras. All 4 of them local guys and all on to do big things for the province of Manitoba and the NCAA as well.
Would be interesting to ask them which one is more important. Because I want to believe it would be Manitoba. I obviously don't know, but Steven and, Borisenko sort of touched on that a little bit in that first intermission interview. The strides that Manitoba lacrosse has taken, even in the past couple years.
Yes.
And you could say the same for Saskatchewan as well. As we've now got 30 seconds left. A reminder in the first period that Manitoba took a timeout, so they only have 1 remaining for the rest of the game. Saskatchewan with 2 in the bank. As Borisenko directs traffic, make sure everyone knows time on the clock, 15 on the shot clock, as that is still a factor here with, now 10 left. There was 1 second between them, but Saskatchewan regains possession at center floor, and with 8.5 left, they'll call Dirksen to the bench and draw up their final shot play.
Down 4 goals heading into the third period. If you can try to chalk something up here, even if you get a great chance there, it adds a little momentum heading into the frame. I mean, I know it's just 1 goal, but the difference between 4 and 3 is so huge. I mean, it's still a fairly big hill to climb, but just mentally for the team, saying you're down only 3 goals with a full period to go, it means next to nothing.
Well, and these are all smart players. I think everyone out on the floor would agree that Manitoba has outplayed Saskatchewan in this game, and to keep it at 3, like we were already saying, Saskatchewan just doing enough to hang on here. Do it again coming into the third. If you can really find something in that locker room to come out in the third period, you might be able to steal one away here, and what a statement that would be for the province of Saskatchewan and the SWAT organization.
You mentioned already, it's been big things coming for the province of Saskatchewan. Their Junior A team making so many great strides, and I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. Having that Junior A team has hurt this Junior B club, but overall for the province, it's massive.
8 seconds left. Dirksen on the bench. The sticks you hear are from the Blizzard bench as that shot off the foot of the high defender. Garrett DePape, I think, as he stumbled into the face of the Saskatchewan player. Thought we may have a little something go down there, but a big defensive stand up top, and he gets Couple high fives as Steven Stamp will make his way across the floor. I believe he's looking for Bryce Dueck.
Mentioned one thing before there. I don't know if that's the take that the Saskatchewan SWAT were looking for with Dawson Garvey, unless it was and they didn't really have a backup plan. Usually when the offense chalks something up, the coach will be like, all right, here's our look. We want to get it here. But if that's not there, this is our next look. And it looked like maybe Manitoba read that properly and was able to take it away. But instead of, being a lacrosse player, thinking the game, they just decided to just go with that. And it was a great block, though, by the Manitoba defender, DePappy, who you mentioned it. He's been getting the faces of a ton of players here.
So normally our tournament procedure would be we're trying to coordinate our interviews with our players to watch. So we had actually set up Aaron Greyeyes for the interview, but then we're told it may have changed to Bryce Dueck. So Steven Stamp is down there trying to find somebody. And I think they are making their way out to center floor. I'm actually not sure who he's with, so we'll let him do the introduction and the interview and throw it down.
All right, I'm down on the floor with Aaron Greyeyes, and I flew in from Saskatoon yesterday. Same thing for you, flew into Ottawa and drove in?
Yes, sir, about like 4 last night, late last night.
You're just coming off a World Junior Lacrosse Championship where you had a breakout performance. We were all wowed by some of your goals. Unfortunately, of course, you can't really crease dive here. Plus, you're playing more at the back door. A bit of a change for you now.
Oh, yeah. I just got to worry about like moving the ball around now. Just playing my role as a team player, and I'm actually moved back to like transition defense. So yeah, I can't really do no offensive stuff. So.
How do you enjoy switching around? I mean, obviously a bit of a challenge. You're playing all week in one position, you switch to the other, but it's playing lacrosse, right?
Yeah, well, it's tough to get used to, but with time you will, and everything. Yeah, giving it hard. Yeah.
Now this Saskatchewan SWAT team has been Junior A for about 3 years, so the Junior B program had to kind of be rebuilt from scratch because those guys moved up. You've also got guys from Welland and Point Edward. You've picked up some players from Ontario, so there must be still quite a bit of adjusting at this tournament.
Oh yeah, we still got to get to know each other. We just met each other yesterday, so just get to know each other, play more games with each other. Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean, do you do some team building stuff, or is it just on the floor?
Yeah, like even at the hotels, we all go for like walks and stuff and. Everything like that, get to know each other better.
Aaron Greyeyes of the Saskatchewan SWAT will be back for the third period after this. All right, thanks, man.
Third period coming up here at the Turtle Dome in Akwesasne, day number 1, game number 1 of the 2018 Founders Cup Championship. You're watching coverage here on the JVI Sports Network. Matthew Carrick alongside Pat Gregoire for game number 1 between the Manitoba Blizzard, who lead the Saskatchewan SWAT 8-4. We are back to our original floor configuration we started with in the first period, with the SWAT manning the goal to our right in their white jerseys on the home bench, and the Blizzard in the navy jerseys going left to right on your screen. First of 4 games here on the schedule today. Again, coming up, scheduled for 2 o'clock Eastern time. That'll be noon in Alberta. The Calgary Shamrocks against the Quebec representative, the North Shore Kodiaks, who actually played Junior C most of this year. They have a number of midget call-ups, Junior C players, but here in the tournament, and as we said, they are one of the teams that are as close to home as they can be, but have the longest drive to get to the arena because they're choosing to stay at home about an hour away. So that'll be interesting to see them and how they perform in this tournament. Team with big expectations, though, the Calgary Shamrocks, as we early on get a hidden ball trick play here from the Blizzard, and it looks like Poitras has kept it on the left side. Dirksen, bit of an awkward save, crouching down with the left leg to make that save.
Blaise Bilecki, not only with probably one of the better names in this tournament that we'll see, but also pretty good goal scoring opportunity off a great feed from Poitras, who's been one of the better players in this afternoon's contest.
Seen a lot of lacrosse players lately who are very good named Blaise.
Yes.
Blaise Reardon, of course, one of the
playing it
biggest ones that come to mind. Go ahead.
And playing in this building some of his junior B ball with the
Yes.
Akwesasne Indians back in 2015. I think he was a part of that Founders Cup champion team.
I imagine
He is, looking up at the
the
banner right
banner's there. There it is.
Few NLLers on that team.
Yeah. A junior B team that's stacked with NLL players. Are you kidding me? Of course, being this far out, we're going to get a slashing call here as Manitoba player went downstairs on one of the Saskatchewan forwards heading up in transition. So Dirksen to the bench now, minute and a half into this third period, and we talked about it before we went to break. Only 4 goals now. The difference between these two teams is the Blizzard just unable to get away.
Like you mentioned, Matt, 2 minutes for a slash, so Saskatchewan has a great opportunity here to start chipping away at this lead. They know you can't go for a home run here. You just got to chip away, goal here, goal there. But, I mean, to start a comeback, you need one, and this would be a huge opportunity for them to get going on this power play.
No 4-point goal line yet in the box game in CLA. The lacrosse news coming out last week, the changes that'll be happening south of the border. We already had the shot clock discussion once in this game. I don't think we'll do that again. As a flip, I'm not sure if it was a pass or shot by Saskatchewan, bounced into the crease there of Johnson. Another interception, that's about 2 or 3 anyways, by Dawson Garvey. A great stick on the defensive side of things, earning the SWAT another possession here on this power play, which is now 40 seconds old.
We'll see Gray Eyes back out there playing offense. Looks like mostly playing transition, but getting his man opportunity time on the power play.
He's back from his walk, is he? One of the better I'm calling it now, one of the better sound bites we're going to get all tournament. Team bonding exercise. They go for walks. Heard it here first, folks. Up top, Matt Wist, one of the goal scorers for Saskatchewan. A low shot there. Vadaway controls the rebound after the Johnson save. And a nice job hanging in by the Blizzard player after picking up the rebound. It's now brought over center by DePape, and I think that was Poitras that took the hit.
Yeah, Poitras, as he's falling to the ground, makes that pass. Beautiful play. Talked a lot about him and a few of the other local Manitoba Winnipeg players wearing the C on his chest here today.
And you can see just under the scoreboard, left side of your screen there, the next team getting a good scouting opportunity. As this is ball down here for Manitoba. Big blast to the stick there. And Zun not showing any ill effects. Close to the over and back line, but Borisenko does not go over. Shot clock ticks down now, though, as we're back to 5-on-5 anyways. As Borisenko still up with it. He's going to work around a pick as it comes up high. Borisenko back to Poitras. And Poitras taken hard into the corner as there's a double team. And Poitras is going to work out of the double team. One of these smaller players on the floor putting in work up in the attacking zone here to get at least one. And I think now 3 defensive players came out on that Blizzard shift as it was late in the shot clock. Poitras earning a well-deserved rest here.
Another big defensive stop for Saskatchewan. As we mentioned, they just got to start chipping away, starting to run out of time. 15 minutes here, 4 goals to go.
A dive from the corner, and that's a case where I think the feet were okay, but the contact on the goaltender causes the crease violation.
That shows Gray Eyes. He's adjusting. Can't pull off those NLL crease dives like we saw earlier this week at the World Juniors.
A lot of adjustments, as you heard in the interview, with, again, newcomers to the Saskatchewan team, players coming from basically all across the country to come and be part of the Saskatchewan team as they've been playing in different parts of the country for one reason or another, but now united in the Saskatchewan SWAT uniforms. That one skips in front of Johnson, and he kind of leaned forward to get a little of the mask on it before it went up out of play, so that'll give a fresh 30 here to Saskatchewan. And they just can't quite connect on the quick stick. Back door there on Cody Johnson.
Yeah, Taylor Ritchie just couldn't get enough on that quick stick there. It was a beautiful pass from the top.
Blizzard, no sense of urgency here as they complete a slow developing change. Gutowski into the corner, where Poitras will now collide in the middle with a bunch of Saskatchewan players, and as they were trying to sort themselves out, Blaze Bilecki got a ton of time to rip one that bounces all the way back to center, ended up in the Blizzard bench. Off the end glass, another hard, almost looked like a pass as Gray Eyes picks it up.
And it looks like Gray Eyes does have the green light to stay out on offense if he's not too gassed, and I think we're going to see a lot of both ways playing for Gray Eyes in this tournament.
Tournament last week and a hard tournament this week. How are you not gassed if you're Gray Eyes? But that's the thing with these tournaments. We talked about Blaze Reardon, and I think you and Stamper can probably talk to this more in our next game, but the fact that there's a lot of eyes on these young players, especially some of the grads, with now a couple extra NLL teams joining the mix, and teams are looking for that diamond in the rough. Perhaps we're seeing a couple of them here as shot Dirksen looking for it, and it just does drop down. Got the benefit of a whistle there from the referee beside him as well. Nice recovery as Badaway climbs the ladder to keep it out of his own bench. And just out the back door of Jeff Roy. Still awaiting our opening goal of the third period. It remains 8-4 in favor of the Blizzard as we've played 7.5 minutes of this third period. I think I did it again. Apologies to Manitoba this time, but it is now a 3-goal lead.
A little bit of a broken play there for Jack Dunn, one of these newcomers meeting his teammates here today, one of the Point Edward Pacers that joined the team. And we mentioned earlier on how, some players from Regina and Welland and, of course, Point Edwards. Well done. Nice way to introduce yourself to a new team. Go out there and score a goal in the third period to cut the lead down.
Saw the Pacers on social media this morning when we let our link out for this game today, and the 4 that are going to take place over the course of today's proceedings. Pacers making sure their fans knew about their boys and would be tuning in to watch. So if there is any Point Edward fans out there, we wish them hello, as well as, of course, the Welland Generals, Regina Barracudas, the PA Predators also on our list. Curtis Pfeiffer representing them here on Saskatchewan. Is a penalty coming here to Spencer Stone, one of those Welland Generals, and it'll be a roughing call.
Coaching staff for Saskatchewan not pleased with that call at all. They're arguing that the stick of Spencer Stone was actually being held. That's why he jarred it to get it loose. And instead, he's the one who gets the rough. Well, the old adage goes, they usually don't get the first one. It's the retaliatory penalty that they do get, and that's what the case was here today.
And part of that frustration, they just did score to get that shrink that 3-goal lead.
And the way this game has been going, it seems like
you need every one you can get, pretty much.
Yep.
Another one off the backboard is Dirksen ducked, and it gets caught up on the back of the net, and I think Dirksen had already prearranged a water break, as that whistle came quite quickly.
I know we mentioned how the officials weren't going to try to have these water breaks during the penalty and the power play, and I think that's what these coaches are trying to get ordered. But I think if a goaltender kind of goes up to the ref and says, I need a water break, they're not going to say no.
Well, and the point was made last night. There was a tournament, I guess, earlier on in one of the other provinces where they actually had a goalie go down, passed out due to dehydration, and obviously didn't want anything like that happening. So it would be up to the officials' discretion. But if they start seeing goalies take advantage of it after, to stop the goal run like we've seen, or hey, if the ref's going to let you do it, I don't blame a goaltender for trying, or a number of penalties. But the fact that they're on a penalty right now, I don't think is what they were talking about. It was more to take it when the penalty's called so you can't get your power play set up. Saskatchewan went back over, and as the players stood up, Gray Eyes, he got hacked by Garrett DePape, and DePape is going to go off for a slash here with 1:28 remaining in the initial penalty.
That's at least DePape's second or third penalty, I think, in today's contest. I like the way he plays. He's gritty. He, edges the line, but obviously here today he's edged that line a little too much as he picks up another penalty.
Well, 4-on-4 was better to the Blizzard so far today than it has been to Saskatchewan, so we'll see how that plays out, although he is argumentative about it right now. We'll see Saskatchewan. That is a nice foot save made by Johnson. I think perhaps a little bit lucky as he was on the move, and the foot just kind of came down in time to meet the ball on its arrival.
And I think that just took a real lucky bounce off the inside foot. Sometimes we see that go off the inside foot, hit the other leg, and go in.
So lucky for Manitoba, unlucky for Saskatchewan is what you're saying, as Gray Eyes now circles the bench. That pass up to the man up top. Splits Garvey and the official. And Garvey's just going to bomb it down the floor as the shot clock was about to expire. 35 seconds remaining, 4-on-4. It is an 8-5 lead for the Blizzard. They have led the entire way after going up 2-0 in the first period as we near the halfway mark of the third. Number of fakes there. Dirksen went down early, but the left arm makes the recovery and the save. Lot of room on the right side going back door. And now the Blizzard putting the pressure on Dirksen here in the SWAT net one more time. trying to set up the backdoor quick stick again. Now the shot does come from Poitras. I think a defender got just enough of the stick to force that one wide as the rebound rolls harmlessly into the crease of Dirksen. And now finally some pressure relieved here for the SWAT. They're going to need to take a full 30 right now on this shot clock.
4-on-4 with the Blizzard just doesn't seem fair with all those offensive weapons they have. Saskatchewan, they try to push out to get some pressure on these guys, but then you leave yourself open on the back door.
Hard off the backboards, nice catch and recovery by Curtis Pfeiffer. Blizzard penalty has expired. Both of them have actually, as Gray Eyes takes the shot. Looked like it hit off the arm of Johnson. Late reset now, so we said they needed extended pressure. They're getting it, are the SWAT, as Pfeiffer recovers again. Another shot high, this time on Johnson. And nothing comes of it except for perhaps a bit of a breather for the defense, who was out there for a long time for Saskatchewan.
We talked about how good Eric Dirksen's been, but I mean, you look down the other way, Cody Johnson's been just as strong, maybe not quite as strong, but he's made a fair share of big-time saves as well.
Well, you said it off the top. The two SWAT goaltenders in this tournament, Dirksen and Ludwig, is kind of split time as we see Dirksen have one go behind him there by Poitras.
That's the first goal we've seen from Poitras. I believe he has a couple of assists. But coming into this game, Matt, we talked about the big thing for this Blizzard team to make them one of the contenders for that second seeding in this division is the fact that they have those 4 top scorers. And you look down at the game sheet, Borisenko 2 with a bunch of assists, Zun with a hat trick, Gutkowski with a couple of goals and assists, and then Poitras with a goal and a few assists as well. These guys were supposed to be impact players, and that's what they were. And when you come into a big tournament, a short tournament like that, your best players have to be your best players, and that's what's been the case here for the Blizzard tonight.
Still 8.5 left to go. Someone in the chat had said that the SWAT offense has been non-existent tonight. They have put 5 in behind Johnson, who, like we said, has played very well. Now trying to pressure the floor a little bit are the SWAT, recognizing still time to get those 4, but they're going to need some traction as the wheels have been spinning a bit since the get-go here. A bouncer looking to go through the legs of Dirksen was Blaise Bilecki, and a nice save made by the Saskatchewan SWAT netminder. An errant pass on a couple bounces rather, for Bryce Dueck, captain of this SWAT team, as it ended up in the crease of Johnson. And the point I was going to make before the last goal was the fact that Dirksen and Ludwig, you said, have split time mostly for Saskatchewan. Johnson is the straight-up backup for this Blizzard squad, as their normal number 1 is facing a suspension. Gray Eyes gets hauled down in the crease. It will be a crease violation. Nice job defensively as he was coming in on a partial breakaway. Cam Stuckey now. Corners it back up to Gutkowski. Into the left corner, Poitras. His pass off a stick. It bounces high off the glass and a straight steal. And Blaise Bilecki has another one. And the Selly afterwards. 5-goal lead now with 7 minutes left. I think too early to call it.
I mean, the way that the Saskatchewan teams always punch back after a big play, I don't think you can say it's over. But with that being said, it's such a big hill to climb. Saskatchewan's offense really hasn't clicked the way that we maybe has anticipated them to. But with all that being said, we've talked about it. This is the first time a lot of these guys have played. So I think as the tournament progresses, the offense will look better. But you mentioned it, Matt. This is probably the biggest game of their tournament so far, obviously, with it being the first game, but probably going to be going forward.
But as they start to gel, how many of the guys who have been playing all last week and everywhere else, how many of them start to lose gas? You kind of got the sense coming in that this was the game for Saskatchewan in the tournament, and right now trailing by 5, 10-5. As Dirksen's done about all he could to keep it right tight and close, but Blizzard, as you said, those top four, just way too much here today.
And the other thing, not only are these players, just coming into this new roster, but if you look at the teams, Point Edward and Welland, I mean, especially Welland, they didn't make the playoffs, so their season's been done for a while. So these guys haven't played lacrosse in a few months. Maybe they're practicing, maybe, getting in games elsewhere, pick up games wherever it may be, but it's been a while, so they're, dusting off the rust as well.
It's interesting because common sense says you're rested, you're good to go, but to just turn it on after being away that long, I think we all know that's not the case.
Well, there is a big debate, especially in junior hockey with the Memorial Cup. Is it better to, battle all the way through a league championship, or as a host, you get an advantage, you get knocked out early and have so much time to practice?
Depends what those practices are like, I think. But they're at game speed, go ahead.
If you have a good coaching staff that can emulate those practices, you stay healthy, it's pick your poison.
Evan Ritchie, a name we haven't called a lot, just soaked a big shot right off the right mitt. And he's shaking the bees out right now, but that has led to the Manitoba possession here, but going back the other way. As Poitras catches it in shooting position and rings it off the base of the pipe. Great pass and a great reception. So hypothetically speaking, of course, we've been talking about this as the second place game here in Pool A. That would play, if you look at the playoff, on Friday at 8 p.m., first place in Pool B, which a lot of people are suspecting will be the Seneca War Chiefs. But again, a lot to go before that, any of that will happen.
That's unbelievable defense by Caden Ludwig. Play match feet, get out to hands, and then when you turn back, you go for that trail check. Beautifully done.
Just outside of 4 minutes remaining here in regulation time. Blizzard have got the first two goals, led 2-0, and it's pretty much been right around that 3-4 goal lead. This is the highest it's been at 5. But the SWAT able to keep it right there, but not close in yet. Their next game is tomorrow against the Medicine Men, which will be a much better matchup, I think, for the SWAT. So still, even with the loss, anything can happen as a save made by Dirksen, and I think he's called for another water break with 3:41 left.
You know what? You mentioned the Medicine Men. We haven't really had a chance to talk about them, and a lot of people are kind of writing them off as the host. They came in here, didn't have the greatest season, but talking to their coaching staff and a few of their players on their team in the last couple of weeks, they feel that once they have a full lineup, they'll be able to compete with a lot of these teams. Their biggest issue was, guys in and out of lineup due to school, being away, injuries, and then they go out, pick up a couple of players from Ontario, their goaltender picking them up, played with Oakville and Brampton, and Vinny Tunchi, who's a very strong netminder. And Matt, I mentioned already, in a short tournament, if your goalie gets hot, he can really steal you some games. Next thing you know, you find yourself in a playoff.
Well, steal some games. Started with the Oakville Buzz, got them to an 8-0 start this season. Mm-hmm. And then, congratulations, you're traded off the squad. But
yeah, that's here nor there.
But he's playing in the Founders. And I'll leave it right there because I think we have some Oakville fans tuning in because they've already typed in the chat. But that is what it is. Oakville Buzz moving up to Junior A next year. So it doesn't matter what side of the table you're on. You seem to be eating pretty well these days.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see Oakville in their last year in Junior B try to push for a Founders Cup championship. I'll tell you.
I think they were trying and had good intentions with that Tucci trade, but just everybody else tried as well, and it was a real tough division they ended up in, although it didn't start that way. As
the big thing too was that they came out to Akwesasne and really struggled, lost 2 games, and they did credit a big thing. They're a good transition team. They were not able to transition the ball nearly as well because of these two benches being on the opposite side. Akwesasne got rid of their transition.
Off the top of the pipe, the shot goes straight to the man on the far side. And another shot where Johnson struggles to get over to his left. So when Manitoba plays Elora tomorrow, I think he's going to have a long night ahead of him. But it'll be interesting to see what Manitoba does against the Medicine Men, because Cody Johnson will have played 2 games. Riley McDanick will have served his second game of a suspension. And depending what happens with the Medicine Men tomorrow, that game could become very important on Thursday night.
Absolutely.
At 8 p.m. local. I believe that's 6 p.m. So dinner time out in the Mountain Time Zone. Our prime time match here on day number 3. Setting up. We're getting a slashing call here as the Blizzard player was taken down, Kieran Mulvaney. It's 10-6 at the moment. 4-goal lead again. Still 2.5 minutes left in the SWAT going to the power play here. So, I mean, still time, as there's been kind of a lull in the building throughout this game. I'm not going to lie. But Saskatchewan still time to make a bit of an early statement. Nice cutback move and a straight shot down the pipe. Easy save made by Johnson off the stick of Dawson Garvey. And now here's where that shot clock rule comes into play. 2 minutes left in the game, and the Blizzard can take all the time they need as long as they don't cross back over the line. Of course, us here in Ontario changed that rule this year in major series and all junior levels. It's a little weird looking at the shot clock turned off, but some of these other teams are quite accustomed to it, and it'll be interesting to see the Ontario team, if they need to adjust to it or how they will, if that's the case, coming in our game tonight. 8:30 the start time again for opening ceremony. Not entirely sure what we're doing for that, if we're going to film it and post it later as an on-demand view, if that will be part of the other game. But if you're not following us at JVI Video, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, and you're a fan of the Founders Cup, I'm afraid you're doing it wrong, as we'll have 4 games a day pretty much the entire way. This day number 1 of the Founders Cup, nearing the final minute of play. There's a step out, a big fake there from Grey Eyes, ends up firing it off the backboards. The recovery shot is taken by Wist. Save made by Johnson, though, as the SWAT look like they're going to take possession down to the wire here. Out of the corner, Grey Eyes steps out. Oh, he didn't miss the post by much there. That is a high skill. Oh, where's Dirksen going? He was headed out, but it took a funny hop off the boards, and they had to call him back. He's now chasing it down. As the Blizzard want to get a couple extra players out here with 4 seconds left in the power play, but they're going to get beat by the shot clock. Both teams have a timeout remaining, but I doubt anyone will take it with 30 seconds remaining now. It looks like the Barrie Blizzard will pick up the first win. They'll lead Pool A, although we do have another matchup coming at 8:30 tonight, the Medicine Men versus the Elora Mohawks.
The Blizzard got to be pretty happy with this game, and I think you look up at the scoreboard and you could argue that they didn't even play to their full potential, or they didn't get the bounces that maybe they deserved. Putting up 10 goals is pretty impressive in your first game, but you could argue that they could have easily had a few more if it wasn't for their opposing goaltender, Eric Dirksen, who was fantastic.
Both goaltenders actually look pretty good, but
Yes.
Dirksen will be interesting to see. We're going to stay on the air here for player of the game presentations, as the teams will shake hands. Your final score 10-6. And as we said, that gives Barrie the lead in terms of Pool A standings because they're the only team with a win. But the important note there is a goal differential of +4, as that could come into play should there be any kind of a tie. And like we said, take your pick between these two teams and then factor in the Medicine Men. What are they going to bring to the table? Could be a 3-horse race for second. Could even be a 4-horse race. We're not sure what Elora is going to look like. A lot of people just kind of assuming they're going to be good enough to take that top spot.
Well, I mean, you look at Elora, and not only every year you always anticipate Ontario to be the contender, but the gauntlet that Elora had to get through to get to this point. You know, you play Wallaceburg, you go through Six Nations in the West Conference Finals, and then you have to play the Green Gales. You know, those are 3 of the top teams in Ontario, and now you get to this point. You got to have them as your contender, not just because, you know, they are from Ontario, but look at the other teams that they did beat in Ontario and the style of play. They play fast and aggressive. But we're going to get to the player of the game here for both sides.
And Matt Wist being announced as the player of the game for Saskatchewan.
Wist had a goal and I think a couple of assists as well.
Andy Zunn getting the player of the game for Manitoba with a hat trick. Disagreement?
I think you could have. There's a handful of guys that
we have 4 or 5, I think, based on your comments throughout the game.
Exactly.
4 offensive players and a goaltender, probably.
Yeah, and I mean, Andy Zunn had a hat trick, so I mean that's nothing to shake your head at, right?
I'm not saying I disagree. Just the way you looked when they announced that, I just thought you might have a comment.
No, I think you, like you said, I think you could pick a handful of guys there. You know, Patras had a goal, a few assists, and had some gritty play to him. You know, Borisenko with 2 goals and a few assists as well. And I mentioned already, I think Borisenko, you could have, chalked him up for 5 goals. He had a couple of pipes as well.
So the Manitoba Blizzard draw first blood here at the Founders Cup. Local time is 1:05, approximately 55 minutes away from game number 2, featuring the Calgary Shamrocks and the North Shore Kodiaks out of Quebec. On behalf of my partner, Pat Gregoire, our host and interviewer, Steven Stamp, those two will be back at 2. And the rest of our JVI crew, my name is Matthew Carrick. Hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. Please subscribe, follow us on Twitter at JVI Video. Enjoy the rest of the Founders Cup.